welcome to What the Flick Reviews The Walking Dead, Season 5, Episode 3. Thank you. We did already post a spoilery-filled discussion on whether or not so-and-so is dead. It may be addressed here. I'm not going to do it personally, but you have been warned.
I will.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, Francis.
Ruining everything.
If you're watching our review show, you need to understand that we're going to talk about what happened in the episode.
So this was an action-packed episode. We do see Daryl diverging away from his friends, but maybe not. He hasn't had a lot to do so far this season, I think. I think he's been severely underused. We also have the encroachment of not just the Walker horde, but also the wolves, even those jerks that Morgan just let go recently. Rick is facing that. That's where we're going to leave him and see where he goes. This seems to be a 4-parter episode of one adventure in one day, or a 4-part adventure, of one episode, I would say.
Yeah, this episode, the theme of it was just kind of, it was, again, trying to create this difference between both groups, which we've seen so evidently from Rick's plan all the way through, how people are starting to, not just the separate Alexandra group, but it seems like people within Rick's group are starting to question his judgment. But as we keep seeing, for everyone who does question his judgment, ends up falling victim to either walkers or anything else, and it's so evident throughout this. But now it's when you get someone like Michonne questioning, basically going against what Rick was saying before, that if they start to slow you down, leave them. And she didn't exactly leave them. She tried to save them, but the inevitable happens anyway. You cannot keep up in this world if you're injured or whatever else. What I don't understand is when that poor guy was being destroyed by the walkers up against the fence.
Oh, the other husband?
Yeah. Why didn't they just shoot him in the head?
They felt
put him out
bad.
of his
They
misery.
wanted him to. He wanted to go say bye to his wife, I think.
Yeah, but I'm saying, no, why didn't they shoot him in the head once he was being attacked by the walkers? Like
I don't know.
Maybe they thought they could still save him.
Oh.
I'm like, just put a bullet in him. I'm sitting there like, that guy's in misery. If you want to be ceremonial.
Don't give me the heartfelt note for your wife, who's probably dead right now.
Yeah, no doubt.
Keep it. You'll make it.
That was just that was putting him into the coffin doing that by giving it. She just took it.
Yeah,
like, all right.
I mean, the
to
show.
me, it felt like a season 1 or 2 episode. They kept making rookie mistakes.
Yes.
Like, oh, we need to stop and bandage this guy's leg up. Well, let's check out some cars and let's have a conversation about whether or not I'm going to leave you behind.
Yeah.
Let's go in this, pet store and like look around for a little while. It's like they know the horde's coming. This is rookie mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can we talk a little bit about something that I was wondering a lot? What about Rick's wound? Is that are we told it's a knife wound, or are we told that it's something else?
We see him stabbing a walker in the head, and his knife breaks.
Breaks. Okay.
I assume that it cuts down the length of his.
Were
hand.
they trying to kind of to cloud that and potentially think it might have been something else? Because when he was finishing off one of the walkers and he had the machete in his hand, I was thinking, is he just going to chop off his own hand off? And I mean, it's something he would do.
It could happen.
Yeah, that's what I was
I think
thinking.
that's open-ended for the next episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
The show does follow many tropes, as you pointed out. This does feel like a rookie episode. And as Rick pointed out, which is the weak and cowardly don't make it. And that happened throughout this episode. Yeah. We saw Michonne clashing with Heath.
Yes.
And coming to different ideologies. The groups aren't really meshing that well.
Yeah. Well, he thinks that it's like him going up to a World War II veteran and saying like something like, "Oh, I've been training for this, so I understand." And you're like, "No, you don't understand. Like you might have been out there doing a few train scenarios and understanding what's going on, but you haven't lived the life that Michonne's lived. Not a lot of people walked around with 2 chained walkers that had no arms.
That was genius.
That was walking around like that. That's like that's when you know you're thoroughly integrated into this world. There's no comparing to you. So for him to say that he has been through it, yes, he's done a few runs and he's still a rookie, as you mentioned, but this is what we're talking about, is that it's the mixture of those that are experienced in trying to guide those who have been living in a nutshell. Like they've just been living in a bubble without understanding what really goes on out there. And when you try to mesh them two together at this point in the crisis scenario, only a few of them are going to fall through. Some of them are just definitely going to get caught up, as we've seen in the most devastating part of the show. You guys can talk about it if you want or not.
I mean, there was a big major death this episode, and at this stage, you probably know what it is. And if you don't, turn off the video now, because
there go them views, Tim.
Right. I'm sorry, but
that needs to be said. Like
they've been here for a substantial amount of time.
It's the number one trending Twitter hashtag. It's #1 on Instagram.
All right, let's friggin' do it then. You jerks win. We're going there. So, I don't know how I feel about this because it seems to be that, I mean, story-wise, Glenn is being punished for trying to help someone redeem themselves and help them see the best in themselves and show that amount of altruism and kindness and that spirit of, you know, let's help each other.
Yeah.
Let's lift each other up. And instead of, you know, I'm going to only protect my family.
And that punishment for doing that is Rick 101. He has been saying that for several seasons now. Stop helping the weak. We need to look out for ourselves. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And he has been proven right again and again and again and again and again.
But Rick seemed to break his own rule, the stop helping the weak rule. I mean, he did find some baby food, you know, and that's obviously to help his weak daughter. He can't leave her to die, to literally be taken by the wolves.
Yeah. Yeah, you could see that clouding of his own judgment because he was thinking, we're doing this for them, and then when it finally hit home, when he found the baby food, that's when he started to second guess himself and think, do we need to abort this directing of the walkers at the moment and go back and try and save the people first?
To me, he recognized that baby food as being from Alexander.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Being his baby's
Yeah, his
food.
baby. That's what I'm saying.
So
like,
these guys that tried to shoot him were just there where
Yeah.
his baby is.
So that's what I'm saying. He was thinking about, we're doing this for them, they can protect themselves, and then he realizes, okay, this is directly affecting my baby. This is their food. Like
Again, this is
something's
my
already happened. This
family.
is my family, and you can't really contemplate that until you finally get proof that something's happened. So he's found proof, and that's when he actually second guessed himself. Like, I understand you want to direct all the walkers away, but direct them away from what if you leave one place to handle themselves? He left with Carol, Maggie, and I would say Morgan going back, 3 people to try and tackle. He didn't know who was going, but surely he has to realize that they're not trained to handle this situation. What's his name from the sniper roof couldn't hit a guy who was in point blank range.
Yeah.
So he has to, that's what I'm saying, like there's 2 sides of it.
And this episode only furthered to cull the herd of the weak.
Yes.
So
True.
now there's even fewer Alexandrites left,
Yeah.
leaving a higher population density of Rick's group.
They're almost all weak. So does that follow that? Is that going to be the arc of this story, of this half season, full season, which is cull the weak, glean them out?
I don't think it could be. I don't think that is the way the show's trying to go, because if that's the case, then we're just going to end up with the group that we originally had. The same group. And you're not going to have it. You may have maybe 1 or 2 newcomers coming in, but they need to come from like a background like Michonne. Like she was a newcomer at one point, but she definitely
she showed up a badass.
Yeah, exactly.
She didn't show up like teach me this, teach me that.
And at this point, we've not got 2 years to try and sculpt another Carol. Like we need to deal with who we've got right now, and that's why they need to make that place a fortress, because they knew that with all those walkers out there, they couldn't hold that place down the way it is. They had to direct them away and give them time to train people and to train them to handle themselves. So at this point, it is going to be only 1 or 2. That's why they killed so many of them in the last episode, so that you can just disregard them. Like you don't need to think about who's going to make it to the next stage into Rick's group, because the wolves just came and just slaughtered a bunch of them. We don't know how many yet, but it seemed like it was over half of the Alexandria population that was just wiped out by them.
Seemed like a lot. I don't know if half is the number. That was the same group that Morgan set free, right?
Yes, and that was the gun.
Yeah.
Yes,
That
was a gun.
Very gun.
got shot at Rick. So immediate consequences.
Yeah.
Although it didn't do much.
Yeah, well, there's that lesson, that lesson poking its ugly head again, which is only protect your strong family.
Yeah, and then I think that it's going to come back around. There's got to be a way for it to work in the reverse. Surely Rick can't be right every time. Surely he might.
That's what I keep thinking,
Yeah.
and yet it happens again and again and again.
And that is the other
He's
theory.
always right.
That is the other theory that someone talked
perfect.
about online, apparently, that what Nicholas was actually seeing was only his vision of what would happen if he took those measures in that scene. That it might not have actually happened, that he was just thinking about
What?
ahead. When he shot himself.
So you think that shooting scene, or not,
Yes.
not necessarily you think, but there's a theory.
There's a theory out there. I don't think
that is actually a fantasy.
a fantasy of him, what it would happen. So that's his, like, it's directly showing what so that he would be understanding of his mistakes and then take a different
I
option.
don't think there was enough indicators with the cinematography that would indicate this is a fantasy.
Yeah.
I think the writers want it both ways. They want to have that big, like everybody's tweeting about it moment, but they don't want to kill off Glenn, so they, obfuscated the facts around that particular death. I don't think it was maybe an illusion or a
But he
delusion,
did.
but-
There was several moments in the in the episode, remember where he did stop in his tracks and
Yeah.
like
Oh,
and
yeah,
literally
he zoned
stop
out.
and zoned out. So that's what they were trying to tease, I think. I don't think that would work, and I wouldn't believe it if I was to come in, tune in. And probably not next week's episode, because we've seen that Morgan is going to be the main focal point of that. So they're going to do that annoying thing and drag it out. And
So
then
we don't know.
90
So we don't,
minutes.
probably 90 minutes
No.
until
90 minutes
90
of
minutes
Morgan.
of Morgan of Jedi
How
training.
many more guns will he distribute?
Yes, a lot of Jedi training. And there was this one scene in the
Oh,
next
dear.
week of Walking Dead where he's lying stroking his gun. Did you see that?
No.
He's stroking his gun. I'm like, okay, I'm interested to
Please
see what's
don't
going on
use
here.
that phrase.
Sorry, Morgan.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think? What's going on?
I don't know. It's to you can't really, as we mentioned, we already done the other clip, which we really went into detail
Please
about.
watch
whether-
it if you want to see
Yeah.
more detail on that. Sometimes I feel like the show, the writers, Scott Gimple, Kirkman, that they're working toward addressing certain complaints and criticisms, which
Yes.
is like nothing ever happens, it's the same show over and over, you're killing all the black people. Notice, by the way, 3 black people survived that mess. Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised the weekend made it through.
Yeah.
Nice.
What?
It does look a little bit like nice.
No. But it's just like, is this, maybe this is he or is he not quandary? Is that because
Yeah,
of like, trying to shake it up and be like, see, we're still edgy, we still got it?
But borderlining fan service, like we're responding directly to what you're saying. And yeah, I think writers should grow as the show grows and maybe like diverge from their path. But don't do it with plot armor for Glenn. Just like make
I
the
like
call,
that scene.
right?
Plot armor.
Yeah.
Tim's got-
Like
that is
Glenn
true.
can't die because we love him so much.
Yes,
But he totally can.
but he
It's a
can.
zombie
And
apocalypse.
they
Exactly.
just
And
released
should.
that
Glenn should
figure of
have
him.
died. Should die.
Just
in
should be
armor.
dead.
Yeah, there's only so many scenarios that we all understand that some of the most unimaginable scenarios happen and people get away from it. Glenn particularly has gotten out of so many of these, and that's why all these memes and tweets are like, nah, he's not dead. He's got this. He's done everything before. But if you want to keep that connection, that emotional connection between fans and putting himself into that alternative reality that is so unimaginable, then he has to have died at that scene. Will it happen? No. There's no way that that's what we shared on the theory. I don't think he has and watched that, but if you are to, I think they would lose a lot of respect if they somehow clawed him out of this one.
Yeah, it almost seems like a jump the shark.
Yes, I agree.
All right.
But
To think about Fonzie, that is.
to think
Yes.
about that, yes.
Direct
I
callback.
think we might be on the hook for a little bit on this if we're
Yes.
directly transferring to Morgan for 90 minutes.
Can't wait.
So I guess we're still going to have to talk about this for 2 more weeks.
Okay, no.
Until then, what do you think, audience? Let us know below. Thanks for watching. Again, this is Tim, Francis, the Fonz, and myself, Kim. Thanks for watching.